your pocket? How are your investments, your assets and liabilities? How are they doing? Interesting times you are in. Yes, it's 25th day in the month of September, and we are talking figures. My name is Chioma Ezenwafo, and I'll be driving this vehicle of talking figures towards an area. You understand why I'm saying that in a bit. Yes, we're diving into a topic that's top of mind for you if you own a car. How to keep your car running smoothly during this petrol crisis. We are in a petrol crisis, and I want to keep calling it that because I want the policymakers and everyone that can do something about it to do something about it, and not let us act like it's normal to buy 1,220 naira per liter. It's never going to be normal. It is a crisis, and that's what it is. So let's look at your car. Yes, your vehicle. Let's help you cut operational costs now, shall we? Because I know that I'm not the only one that's had a very, very, very terrible car experience in this month of September. Actually, my vehicle has broken down like 3 times. 3 beautiful times. I call it beautiful because some of those days were really rainy days and help was slow to come. But some of those days it came. And then you would see how useful the people that hang around flyovers can be. Anyways, so whether it's your personal finance or your business finance, this show will help you today. So if you own or use vehicles, get in here now. Let's talk figures. Yeah, let's look at keeping your car on the road and the essential maintenance tips amid this fuel crisis. What are your car challenges during these times, and what tips help you? If you have tips, yes, I would like to hear them. I have no tips. Anyways, if you have tips, I would like to hear them. We're live on Facebook and YouTube at Nigeria Info PH. I would love to hear your thoughts. What's been your experience trying to ensure that you keep driving your car, or have you parked it? Even parking it is a problem. There's also a level of maintenance if you decide to park your car, isn't it? So, well, as you're wondering, on Talking Figures, I am never alone. And today I have with me, listen to this, a current licensed mechanical engineer, a NAPTEB and NDE certified automotive trainer, engineer Franklin Ikemefuna is in the studio with me, and we're here to talk cars and everything in it, and how to ensure that in this time of petrol crisis that your car keeps moving. Thank you so much for joining me, engineer Ikemefuna.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yes, thank you. So he's the CEO, Meridian Auto Fingers Limited. Thank you, Frank, again for joining me. Actually, on the show, we have a tradition where we look at the big stories in the world of business before we go over to the topic of the day. Of course, if you're a CEO or you run a business or you just need to make money, this segment is very important because it's also where we look at the implications of the big stories of the day for you as a business owner. So, are you ready for this segment?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, so let's start with the very first one. Okay, so the first one talks about Pengasyn calling for increased federal government shares in Dangote Refinery. The Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasyn, is urging the federal government to increase its stake in the Dangote Petroleum Refinery because currently it's 7% and they want it increased to 45%. Now, the Pengasyn president believes, that's Festus Osifo, he believes that it will provide better energy assurance and energy security for the country. Your thoughts?
Yes, I think that's actually a welcome development if the federal government will buy into that, because to avoid monopoly of commodity, the federal government should be able to have a few percentage, like the 45 that Pengasyn proposed. I think is actually a good one, because if federal government owns just 7% of shares in Dangote,
they have no say.
Obviously, you have no say. If you own 5 and 7% in my company, obviously you don't have a say in my board. Okay, but if you have like 45, 50, 60, I remember then back in the years, I remember that normally own 60% in some IOCs, except BOGT they own 55% and other things. So in that of Dangote, I believe they should own at least like 45% or even more, so that they'll be involved in in the say in some of the board meetings and some of the
key decisions
have been made.
But then, Frank, I know that they own, even in what they call it now, power distribution companies. But we do not see this translate into anything for other companies.
First, I would just say let them own a higher percentage first.
Okay.
Because
because that's when they can drive the policy.
Exactly, should own a higher percentage first before they can do anything.
Well, you're right. Increased government ownership could enhance stability in Nigeria's energy market, because I mean the crisis, you cannot really tackle it until you get into the ring. It's like boxing ring. You cannot really tackle it until you get into. So if you're going to have to ensure fuel availability, reducing reliance on foreign imports, businesses and individuals, mean more predictability, fuel prices and supply in the long term, and that means that the government has to do more. If we've said over time that Dangote is at the center of what's going to help us get out of this situation, then we also need government to get in the middle of it. Well, how exactly that should happen, I will leave the expert to sort it all out. But for you as a business owner, if you run a business, if you own a business, if you are in the labor market, particularly relying on fuel, you may want to watch how this development unfolds, okay? Because increased government control might lead to policy changes that could affect operational costs for you. So it's essential, yes, to factor this into financial planning and long-term investments. I mean, we are wrapping up the third quarter of the year and getting into the fourth quarter of the year. A lot is going to go on during this period to keep an eye on. Now, let's look at the second story, looking at ASUU. I mean, that name is gradually replacing a name we call strike, right?
That's it.
Unfortunately, that is what we're talking about at the moment. ASUU has again issued a 14-day strike ultimatum. They are asking the government to pay and resolve their lingering issues from 2009, Frank. Man. And they are warning of a possible strike if after 14 days this isn't sorted. Okay? These issues include renegotiation of their agreement based on a 2021 draft and the release of withheld salaries from the 2022 strike. What comes to your mind when you look at this story?
I just remember the 2009 strike. I think I was in school then, and I was actually affected by the strike. It was it 6 months or thereabouts. ASUU, as we all know, is a body that controls the university and lecturers and co. I think their needs should be met. They need to be met. But my question is, are their needs actually particular for their own welfare or for the development of the unit structure per se to enhance our academic performance and maybe the students of Nigeria? That's my question. So because if their needs, if their requirements is just self-centered or selfish, maybe in terms of just their welfare, the lecturers' welfare and everything, that will raise a question mark, because it can be asking me to just do that of your welfare, and you're equally asking. I can see from your story that I should be paid for the time I went for strike. I went on strike. So, but altogether, federal government should please come to a compromise with ASUU and do the needful, because whatever that the ASUU equally affects Nigeria education. Yes. And another strike could disrupt academic activities, and that is worrisome because delaying graduation of students. I mean, we have a story that talks about unemployment rates. So that automatically is going to affect all of those numbers. Exactly. Okay. For instance, for mine, I was meant to go to school for 5 years, but I ended up spending 6 years. Not because I wasn't intelligent or that.
ASUU strike has disrupted academic calendar till date.
Exactly.
We have a lot of people whose reg number will read a certain year, and then things are not really. And then COVID-19 also came. I remember in 2019, 2022, we went from, I think, ASUU strike to COVID-19.
Exactly.
And it was such a disruption. We do not want that, and it's not acceptable. For families with children in public universities, potential disruptions could result in increased education-related costs, because now you have to start opting for private universities, and not all of us can afford that thing. All right? So, yes, we keep an eye on that story, by the way. Now, let's look at the third story. Record-breaking over 89 trillion naira in electronic payments in July 2024. That's according to Nigeria Interbank Settlement Systems, NIBSS. They revealed that Nigerians spent about 89 trillion through electronic channels in July 2024. This year, July. And that's like an 89% increase from July last year. And that's the highest monthly transaction value ever recorded and signals quite a significant rise in the use of electronic payment systems. What do you think?
This is very astronomical. The figures are really, really mind-blowing because it tells you that an average Nigeria doesn't actually need much. Yeah, because whatever you throw at us, we give it to you. Okay, give it to you because they've actually given us technology and we have embraced. Okay, electronic transfers and everything. Remember in the time past when you go to market, a woman will tell you, "I don't take transfer, I don't take this, I don't do that."
Terrible.
But now it has become a norm in society. Madam, I want to buy something. How much is it? 5, 10, 15 naira, 1,000 naira.
Machines everywhere.
Transfer, I will take it. All of those things it has come to stay already in Nigeria because at first we actually found out it, but now we have taken it. So an average Nigeria doesn't actually need much. Or what it needs is just normal amenities. So if they are making this amount of money, man, 9 trillion is actually very mind-blowing.
July alone.
So what are you giving to the populace in return? That's my question.
Especially when you think about that 50 naira transfer. Do you remember the
yeah,
story?
52 naira, but something
like that for every transfer. So that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Anyways, the growing reliance on electronic payments reflects the increasing shift towards a cashless society. I think it's safe to say that we are there now. Yes, we are officially a cashless. I don't know what numbers can call us that. I mean, this is it. This is the figure that says it all. The data you can quote boldly. NIBSS says 89 trillion spent alone through electronic transfers in July 2024. That makes us a cashless society. No arguments anymore, right? So if you are a business owner and you are yet to have a POS machine, you're on your own. That's what it simply means. If you're looking for interpretation, I just gave you one. All right. So that is a surge and you need to embrace it in every way. And then if you're a cloud engineer and you build apps and all of that, you are in for money because you can meet any business owner to design apps for them, make, synchronize in such a way that payments can be made online for services to be rendered. And it makes things really easy. Very
much interesting. Very much okay. Yeah, but I have one other thing to say, Choma. Now, you're making such amount of money from electronic transfers and everything. Now, and we still go to banks, we get our ATM machine, ATM cards at a particular amount and cards. Man, I have a friend who came back from the UK and he was telling me that, bro, this card is actually free of charge over there. You want to get a card,
and we're still paying in Nigeria.
We're paying for it here, 1,000 and something.
We'll look at that story some other time. We need to go on a break now, and we're wrapping up the first segment of the show. Market Watch wraps up here, and then we'll go on this break. When we return, we'll look at insider tips. Thank you, Frank, for doing Market Watch with me. Impressive, really impressive. And we'll look at all of the issues when it comes to vehicles in a bit. That's the big story for us for today. I mean, there's a petrol crisis going on, and there isn't any better time for you to learn how to keep your car on the road, maintain it. Essential maintenance tips. That's what we'll have. Our guest, he is a certified current licensed mechanical engineer. Yes, he did quite interesting with Market Watch there, breaking down all of the points there. So yes, he's a mechanical engineer, current certified, current licensed, and he'll be sharing with us essential tips to keep your car on the road. Yes, you can also share your tips with me if you have thoughts when it comes to car maintenance. What's been your experience since the fuel crisis started? I told you mine has been terrible. We'll talk about that after the break. Yes, talking figures here on 92.3 Nigeria Info. My name is Choma Ezewanfo. We'll be right back. Through Nigeria Info FM. We just finished Market Watch there, and we're now on Insider Tips. Insider Tips is where we look at the big story of the day. And today we're looking at the car situations we've been facing since this petrol situation started. I'm so sure that I'm not the only one who's had to struggle to keep our cars on the road. Like I told you, I've had mine break down like 3 times this month. You know, apart from the petrol crisis, it's also the rainy season. All the rains and all the roads, not all the roads are great, of course, and then you have to go through them. You know what that means. It means that you better have a higher knowledge on how to ensure that your car doesn't break down often, because it's very challenging. It's stressful to have to deal with car issues time and now again. So I have a guest with me. Yes, he's a current licensed mechanical engineer. He's a NAPTEB and NDE certified automotive trainer. Engineer Franklin Ikemefuna is still in the studio with me. Thank you again for joining me.
Yeah, you're welcome, Ms. Chuma.
Okay, so now let's look at the big, the big topic of the day, talking about our vehicles, talking about our cars. What are the most common car maintenance issues you've seen during this, whole petrol crisis and petrol situation?
Oh, well, there are lots of issues with vehicles and during this period, ranging from, obviously, when there's no fuel, so a lot of persons tend to have stoppages on the road and everything. So, and when you drive your vehicle with no or low fuel, it has a lot of impact on the vehicle. So, we have issues like people come to our garages for things like bad fuel pumps, talk about spark plugs, talk about clogged nozzles, injectors and throttle heads and all of those things you have. So anything related to fuel, okay, because we tend to manage when there is no or scarce commodity, people tend to make do with the one they have. So all of those things are some of the challenges we've been seeing in our workshop. So all of a sudden we see someone parking to your workshop and he tells you that, see, my vehicle is not working, he's checking, he stopped on the road and all those things. Now when we check, because he's been using his car without fuel or low fuel, tends to have broken down a couple of components or parts in the vehicle, like fuel pump, okay, nozzles, injector heads getting so dirty, clogged nozzles, spark plugs equally. So some of those things are a few things we see as a result of the fuel crisis. Okay.
Now let's look at businesses. How can businesses optimize their vehicle maintenance to minimize operational costs amid this fuel prices? I know there are some companies that they have to move their cars. They have to move and use the vehicles.
How they can do what? Optimize what?
Yes, the vehicle maintenance. How can they ensure that they while keeping the operational costs low, your vehicle maintenance?
Yeah, see, the plan was we definitely go high a bit, because when you are buying fuel at 1,250 naira, 1,300 naira, it goes back to the overhead cost. So when you are checking your margin, you just have to factor that in, but however, in terms of maintenance, businesses can try to inculcates preventive maintenance. Okay, I always tell people PMI, preventive maintenance inspections or initiatives, usually actually one of the best ways. Okay, in Nigeria here we often practice reactive maintenance, which is actually a bad one for us, because we tend to work something when it has broken down. We tend to do something when it is actually faulty, when it has gone bad. Okay, but we fail to use checklists. We fail to use we fail to do normal checks. Okay, to avert such kind of breakdowns, okay, in future. So it's actually a thing that companies should try to emulate, to try to have. If they have a fleet manager, if they have people who take care of their fleet, they should be able to optimize the use of preventive maintenance to their own advantage. You should be able to use it, okay, things like normal checks. Your driver should be able to go through the normal checks. Like there's an acronym we use here, BLOFATCH. Okay, that's an acronym for maintenance of vehicles. Okay, so you just check all of those things. And I must warn you, for fuel consumption, it's actually not just for fuel consumption. It's actually not just some of the components we think like catalytic converter, which is what we call catalyst, that makes fuel to consume, or a flow meter, all of those things.
Okay,
it's not actually not that. The whole component of the vehicle contributes to fuel consumption. Okay. I'll give you an instance now. I don't know if I'm actually much too fast. I'll give you an instance now. A man who is actually pushing a truck, a trolley, Okay, for instance, you're applying a 25 tons weight on the trolley, pushing it. Now, if the rollers of the trolley is actually bad, okay, the rollers, the borers, or whatever you call it, is actually bad. What happens? You tend to push more because it is having friction, having so much grip on the ground, it can't flow properly. Okay, so what happens is that you put more energy, more energy to overcome the weight to move further. Same thing happens to in vehicle. Okay, well, even if the engine is perfectly okay, it's working very well, and the suspension are bad, the legs are not doing well, the effect is on the engine because the engine will require more energy, more power to move, to overcome the friction, to overcome the workload. So, fuel consumption naturally doesn't really dependent on the engine, the state of the engine at the particular point. That is one of the factors. However, there are other factors. That is why I say a holistic check of your vehicle before usage and preventive maintenance is very important.
Okay, I'm going to open the phone lines early today because I have a mechanical engineer, a current licensed mechanical engineer in the studio. So yes, we're live on Facebook, YouTube, and at Nigeria Info PH. So drop your comments there. If you have questions for him, yes, he's here to answer your questions as well. We are live and we're going to read the messages live as well. You can also share your thoughts on X, that's form of Twitter at Nigeria Info PH. The phone lines are open now. You can call 0817-923-0002. You can also call 0817-923-0003. Yes, I brought you a current licensed mechanical engineer to the studio just so that we can have a conversation to ensure that we do not spend unnecessarily trying to fix our cars. The whole, there's also the issue of putting the wrong fuel. The one they call fire fuel.
Yeah.
Does that really affect a vehicle?
Sure. It does because it alters the component of the fuel. Okay, the fuel has its own carbon chain. Okay, how do I put in that? Like use constituents. Okay, it has its own chain, has its own parameters. So when you put the glow fire, it alters it. Okay, and definitely has effect on the component of the vehicles.
Okay, I have a call coming in here, but before we take that. The phone lines are open. I will take calls. So yes, I will take that call. But I was just wondering, can you be more practical with the tips you can offer to drivers for maintaining fuel efficiency in their vehicles? Very as practical as possible.
I'm actually not a fan of I like it now. This issue of cutting corners and doing things. Drivers, when you talk about drivers, the first question was about corporate bodies, now drivers. People will tell you, and when you're driving, you see people have a jerry can in their boots, when their fuel stops. Hey, guy, excuse me, go and top up the small fuel they have in the car and all those things. And it helps them to know how much they've spent, however. But it has a lot of effect on the vehicle.
Okay.
I trying to save your fuel, reducing your injector, reducing all of those, trying to cut corners, reducing your fuel consumption. It's actually good, but it has effect. Okay, so when you reduce that, the effect it has on the component you buy, it might be more cost effective. Okay, that's what I say. So, but for the drivers, I will tell you, just get a good fuel. Driver can tell you better where to get a good fuel. Please understand. Even you who is driving, they know.
Okay.
So get a good fuel. Try to drive properly. Avoid all this road rage and too many offensive driving. Because when you accelerate your vehicle, the injector mouth opens and it gobs up fuel. So avoid too much of braking, too much applying of brakes and all of those things. So it just helps to make sure your vehicle is in good state. Once the firing order is okay, once the firing system is okay, your spark plugs are okay, nozzles, injectors are okay, and your car is not consuming fuel like normal, go with it. Okay, don't try to alter it. It doesn't actually make a good sense. Okay, and drive just gently. Okay, because driving could affect your fuel consumption. A lot of things affect fuel consumption. So many things, even as far as your tires. Do you know?
How?
That's the question. They asked me how. Yeah, your tires have an effect on your fuel consumption. It does, okay, because that's the contact point with your friction. Okay, so when you have your bad tires, when your tires are worn out and not properly and not okay, it helps to drag back the vehicle. It helps to make the force that the vehicle will overcome. Like I gave instance of the trolley, the quality be high. That's why it's advisable every 10,000 kilometers, make sure you swap your tires. Swap the ones in front, take them to the back, and all of those things. Very important. So these are some of the tips we have, what one needs to be doing when you're doing preventive maintenance. Okay, not until the tire wears out completely, as when you start getting a new tire. But you should have been able to swap them before it does wear out.
Okay, the phone lines are open 0817-923-0007. That's the number that you can call. We have a mechanical engineer in the studio. Lots of questions I have for him, but I'm opening the phone lines early because I want you to ask yours first. Okay, what are your car issues? Let's answer them. And if you have helpful tips, I also love to hear what those helpful tips are. What are your car challenges during this time? A lot has gone on since July. The fuel crisis took a different turn, and it's been a lot since then. So what are your car challenges, and what tips help you sort them out? And the phone lines are open. 817-923-0007 is also another number that you can call. And then, of course, we're live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube at Nigeria Info PH. You can drop your messages as well on X at Nigeria Info PH as well. Now read those comments in a bit. But first, let's see. We have a call coming in here. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, you're welcome.
Okay, I must appreciate the fact that we're talking about this topic today.
Okay.
I am a car dealer.
Okay.
And first off, do I consider the way you acknowledge the presence of my brother there in the studio?
Okay.
It is quite alarming, and it's quite entertaining to have him talk, and then we listen and learn.
Mm-hmm.
But then he keeps emphasizing on effect, negative effects, positive effects, and we needed to hear what's up. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you. Go on.
Okay. So if I should emphasize on the grounds of the fueling and management on that line, I'd like to just add a little thing, maybe for listeners to also grab this idea. I think a person who is always having a fuel tank that is empty, I think the person is always going to be having problem with their fuel nozzles and their fuel pump itself. The reason being that if you have an empty tank, the fuel pump itself is going to be burning out because of the fuel pump itself needs fuel around it, as a coolant.
Okay.
So if you always running on an empty tank, you'll always be replacing fuel pump, and then the possibility of gathering the residual, the dust particles in the fuel tank, will be higher because it is now concentrated on a small circle because of your empty tank. If you drag all of the dust, it goes and it hits onto the nozzles, which helps to disperse fuel into the engine. So this is the line at which the fuel comes, and then it serves the engine. It will become so dusty and clogged. So that's the line, having not to go on with empty tank and empty tank.
Okay.
If we should talk about the fueling, I think there are some chemistry we can add up so that you don't just visually look at the fuel and acknowledge it to be good or bad. I think that's where everyone now has to go and do their own personal research.
Okay.
I just want to make that contribution.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution. I have Anele calling in from location. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Talking Figures, Anele.
Constance Mega, good afternoon.
Choma is in Wafo. That's my name.
Okay, Choma, good afternoon. So,
Good afternoon.
please let me know from the guest before you. There's somebody who is mechanically oriented in terms of vehicle. The CNG, they are telling us about something, I don't know. When is it going to be possible? How can people assess it? And how much is the cost of converting? Because right now, a lot of people are parked their car. They don't go to work on it again, including myself.
Okay.
Because we cannot afford the fuel, the cost of fuel right now. the CNG, how are we going to assess it? How are we going to have it? Can the engineer tell us? Be aware. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for your contribution and your question. And now, Frank, tell us, I actually had that question waiting.
Okay,
CNG.
Before
What's
I
the
talk about
possibility
that,
of that?
the first caller, I just want to say thank you for your expansion, for expanding more on that. Okay, he actually did a good justice to that question, to that thing there.
Yes.
About going on driving empty tanks and everything, what it does, okay. And for the bad fuel, talk about the 10 ratios of the good fuel. So one can actually, are you a chemistry professor?
No, we're not.
He did a lot of justice to it. Okay, so now to the last call, I talked about CNG. When are we having CNG?
Where can we get it? How can we convert it? How much would it cost to do that? So many questions when it comes to CNG.
Okay. Not quite long. Andy just called me and talked about training of personnel in conversion of CNG and everything. So we're actually trying to get some persons in the vast state to train. However, the challenge we have is just that the presence of CNG is not much in South here.
Okay.
That's why if we have a body, we have people, persons, even government, to try help us drag it down to South here. Okay, I sent message to NADDC, that was last week. Okay, when I saw the training of some mechanics in Ekiti State, that was last week. That was NADDC, National Automotive Design and whatever Control Council. Okay, so I sent a message to them. Why would such things be happening in the north and in the southwest and not in the south and southeast? That's one of the challenges we're having. Because the challenge we have is that they are cost effective. The conversion is a kit, very, very, very cost effective. PINCNG, which is the presidential initiative for CNG conversion, that the government has released a lot of money, disbursed money to anchor this project. I went to their site and they said we have a lot of people from Rivers State, who are. But I've gone to those areas and I'm not seeing any presence. Who are actually doing conversion, and it's actually a challenge for us here. So, but let me say it: the CNG conversion for now is just for mostly these buses that the federal government wants to use to elevate the poverty for people, for commuters. That's what they are making first. That's the provision they are making first. For individuals, for
private
vehicles, we've actually not started doing a lot of that because they are very, very cost effective. Thank you.
All right, 0817-923-0007 is a number that you can call if you have questions, thoughts. I would like to know, how are you dealing? How are you able to keep your car on the road? Our last caller actually said he's packed his car and wondering how he can get the CNG situation. But our focus today is car maintenance, essential maintenance tips as we deal and tackle the whole fuel crisis. What are your car challenges during this fuel crisis, and what tips help you? We're live on Facebook. We're also live on YouTube. Drop your comments there. I'll read them in a bit. And the WhatsApp number. Yes, the WhatsApp number is 0809 030 6416. Yes, 0809 030 6416. The call, you can call 0817 923 0002. You can also call 0817 923 0003. What are your car challenges? Can you share your maintenance tips? What helps you keep your car on the road? We have a mechanical engineer in the studio, a current licensed mechanical engineer. He's been sharing very interesting tips, and he just talked about the CNG and its in the South region. He says nothing in sight, nothing yet, even though trainings are going on for mechanics in the Southwest and in the North, but nothing here seen yet. And I think our own independent story on CNG corroborates what you just shared as well. Let's go to Facebook. Let's see if we have anything on Facebook. While so while I opened that, I was just wondering as well, when we look at the entry of Dangote into the energy market and how it's impacted, I'm wondering, has it impacted the automotive sector in any way?
Dangote's involvement into the energy markets has, for now, let's say this is the month of September, because federal government told us that, NNPCs rather, that they supply to him still in dollars this month. So let's wait till next month, so that before we know if the price of fuel will crash. Because you and I know that what you buy for is what I buy for. And the effect has been that many persons park their vehicles at home, and what has been making use of their vehicles. and I pity them because before you get out those vehicles from your garage, you have to do some work on it because you can't park a vehicle you've been using for a long time and park it and not use it. Okay, so especially when you have some rodents in your house, okay, they'll obviously eat up some wires. So I will answer this question if it should be next month or okay. Let's see if they will give him crude in naira and see the effect it has on in the price of fuel. Then we will not see the real effect on the automotive world. But now the same way we are suffering, and the effect is that in our workshop garages we have less vehicles. People are not coming to repair. Because it's not when you have money to buy fuel. You can drive your vehicle. Yeah. So when you drive a vehicle, that your vehicle will break down, like you see the mechanic. Okay, so it's actually a ripple effect.
So it has affected the automotive business.
Sure, it does.
Oh, interesting. Now let's go to WhatsApp. We have a message here from Goodness on WhatsApp. He says, Chioma and Frank, good afternoon. It's quite shameful that a whole Nigerian nation is dancing around one man's refinery when we have 3 dead refineries in the country. Normally, in a sane economy, Dangote should be shivering and begging Nigeria to succumb to its policy to accommodate him. When will Nigerian refineries start production? That's a $1 billion question these days. Shamefully as well is the fact that despite all the natural resources in Nigeria, our rulers are only concerned with crude oil and petroleum products. Says Choma, beg them to turn their attention to other items for forex and mechanized agriculture and ranches and tanneries and allied animal products, stopping open grazing. Thank you, Goodness, for your messages and ensuring that your emotion was built into your message. We got it. Okay, now I have another one here from Sonny at Choba says, does AC make vehicle to consume more fuel? You see that question? That debate has been on for a very long time. Some people say it doesn't. Some say it does. Does it? Okay, let me allow you to answer.
There are many school of thoughts to
yes.
it. There are many school of thoughts to it. A lot of things. Even that's the AC own and the catalyst. We call it the catalytic converter has this sort of thoughts. Okay, but I haven't been first and foremost, I'm a mechanic first before I became an engineer. So I learned the job through the craft way before I became an engineer. So
can you hold your thought while we take this call? I have Lara Barry calling in from Rumokoro. Hello, Lara Barry. Welcome to Talking Figures.
Hello, good afternoon, Choma. Thank you for giving us this usefulness on our vehicle. So, your guest, you are saying the profile is very intimidating, mechanical. So, I don't really want you to clarify us the maintenance of tire, because you also talk about the defective tire affecting the fuel consumption. So, one, how will you know the tire that is expired? Then you look at the pumping of your tire, what gauge that is more suitable, depending by the car you are driving. So please, we still need education so that we know what to do in this aspect.
Okay. So, Chima, I take the first question or the second one.
I think you should complete. All right, we got your question. Thank you, Lara Barry, that called in from Rumokoro. Let's finish the one about AC and then we take on this one.
Okay, now let me say it. For an ideal vehicle, a brand new vehicle, that still if it's 3 horsepower, for instance, or 3.2 horsepower, is the same engine. 3 horsepower. Okay, that means the AC was factored into it. Every company was factored into it. Okay, the AC will have no effect on that vehicle. It's still very brand. Okay, however, when the engine starts deteriorating, from 3 horsepower it has gone down to maybe 2.something horsepower, but as a result of age, another effect. Okay, the AC, which is an external component on the engine. Okay, we have the load will be visible on the engine because of the strength of the engine has reduced. That's when it will now be visible, and the resultant effect is fuel consumption. Yes, so for a vehicle that is still very perfect, still okay at its own prime stage, when you import it new and everything, AC has no effect on it. But as age starts coming up, catching up with the vehicle and all those things. That's when you on the AC, you will feel it. The car will go down a bit. That's because your engine is getting weak, and that's when you're knowing that an external component has been added to it.
Yes.
Okay. But at first, when you bought your car new on the AC, you won't even know. You just have clap,
Okay.
of the compressor sound. You won't hear.
And then when you think about the fact that the Africa is said to be the dumping ground for fairly used vehicles,
exactly.
I mean the whole Belgium thing and all of that.
There are equally still some Belgian cars that they still won't have effect, but they're still very okay. Okay, we have a Belgian car. No, they manage maybe like 50,000, 40,000. Not the one altered though. That one is another day.
Okay.
When they are still good, the AC has no effect on them. It's only when we started using them, and so many components have been compromised. The spark plugs, the original spark plugs that the car came with, has been compromised with the standard one. Okay, and the power of the spark plug to carry the engine has reduced. You can't carry the AC when you're on it. It will show. Okay, and the resultant effect is on the fuel.
Now let's answer the question of Lara Barry.
Okay, yeah, for tires now, the aging of tire, you can see the expiry date on your tire there. That's 4 years expiry span. Okay, so when you see there the weeks, it comes in weeks and year. Okay, the last counting from your right is the year, and from your left is the weeks. It runs to 52 weeks. So depending on the year. So when you for instance you have 1424, that means is 14th week of 24, and probably the tire was manufactured around March or thereabout. So when you check it out, you add 4 years to it. That's when the tire expires. Okay, and so but I advise people to always go for car maintenance, then tire maintenance, like rebalancing, alignment, all of those things, and that. Okay, for pressures, talking about pressures, for every vehicle there is actually many persons do not have their owner's manual. It's very important. It's written there, or by the side of your door, the driver's seat, you see the specification there, the number of PSI accepted for your vehicle, for your tires. Some vehicles are 33 PSI, some are 35 PSIs, all of those things. We should stop the attitude of going to our the organizers. They will tell you, Oga, na 50, I'll give you 50, I'll pump at 50. None of those things.
Yeah.
50. No, and the tire will be highly overpressurized.
So what's the moderate? What's the right?
Now I'm saying it depends on vehicles. Okay, for sedans, it's different from a lot of SUVs. It's different from lorries or vans. So it depends on your vehicle.
So give us an instance. If it's an SUV, what's the appropriate?
It depends on the manufacturer. You always see it on your vehicle. You always see it on your vehicle by the side of the vehicle.
The most common car is Toyota Camry. So for a Toyota Camry, whatever year, what's the appropriate?
Many of them are usually between range of 33 PSIs. Okay.
Really?
33 PSIs.
You know that most of Fognes has always 40 something.
Always tell you 50 for this, all of those things.
Yes.
Okay. So, but I would say, some of these gauges are actually not too right. So
Okay.
40 is actually good for someone to pump.
So first of all, check if what they're even using to measure is correct, is
And
working.
That you should check. I advocate for car users. Have some things. Just the way you go to hospital and you tell you to have your thermometer, have your temperature gauge, and all of those things, your BP and all those things. There are things one should have in your car as a car owner.
As a car owner.
So you should have some of the things. Yes, by yourself, gauging of a vehicle, of a tire shouldn't be something that one will tell you how to do. Within the pressure shouldn't be something one should teach you how to do.
I don't know how to do it, so how do you do it?
So all of those things are quite easy, but because of the defect of the whatever gauges, I will say 40 for some sedans, cars. Okay, then for SUVs, maybe 40 to 45 allow range, but not more than 45. Okay, when you overpressurize it, you get the tire prone to any eruption, to bend, to anything. And when you underpressurize, it's equally an effect on the tire too. So don't underpressurize and don't overpressurize.
Interesting. I have more questions from WhatsApp. I have Donald Abaja is asking, say, good afternoon, presenter and guest. Please, does air conditioner cause high rate of fuel? Okay, we've already answered that. And then secondly, how can you ensure that the airflow meter of a vehicle is kept at reasonable consumption level?
Well, you can't ensure that. The ECM, the train control module, the brain box ensures that. Okay, it tells vehicle what on the it can start engines, air and fuel. So it tells the engine that, see, this component I'm in charge of the air. Okay, for the fuel, I have a gauge. So the brain box will tell you, give you some amount of fuel, give me some amount of air, it's just a chemistry. Your car is actually a chemistry, so that's just it. Do you have another question?
Yes, but the phone lines we're still taking your call. 0817-923-0002. We'll be wrapping up in a bit, but I can take one or two calls. I can have one or two come in, and I'll take them. 0817-923-0009 is also another number that you can call. We're still on WhatsApp now. I have one from Oyibabaye. Hi, sorry if I murdered that name. Oyibo Baye Michael. He says, hello, chairman, engineer, and are there unique injector cleaning fuel treatment chemicals outside the regular ones in the filling stations to recommend for low fuel consumption? And what's the effect of the engine fire level on fuel? And talking about friction, does the pressure on the transmission gear to increase speed suddenly from 1 to 2, 3 have serious effects on fuel consumed, even for a car with good engine and active catalysis? So many questions there.
I find out that they are starting, but actually there is no problem of course in those people. Just leave it and what do you do?
I can barely hear him.
Okay, you have to speak up, and we don't have time, so please speak up quickly.
I say your oil is going down. But there is no problem or bad development that you start making. But the oil is shorting.
Okay. If I understand you, that there is no visible leakage anywhere. Okay, but the oil keeps going down. Yeah. Okay. What happens is what happens is actually one thing I can consider is first when you have the improper viscosity of the oil. Change one. You can change the oil and have a good recommended oil for your vehicle. If that is done and it still goes down, look at the escape. Look at the rings and components of the engine. Okay, for it to reduce.
We can't actually take all the questions, but I need you to maybe answer at least one question from Michael.
Can we have maybe from the backside?
From the backside. He talked about the pressure on the transmission gear to increase.
Yes,
speed.
that's one will surely affect the fuel, because when you are exerting pressure on the gear, probably if the gear is actually not too good, it's struggling to change, and you're exerting, the gear is not changing to meet up with the required RPM of the engine. The resultant effect is on the fuel. And so that is just a normal sense thing. It tells you that when you're firing the engine is shouting loud and the gear is not corresponding to the speed, to the RPM of the engine, the resultant effect is on the fuel. So it will consume fuel a lot. Okay, now, do we have another one from there?
We have many questions, but we have to go. I mean, maybe your final thoughts now. Your final thoughts.
My final thought is just keep
Nigeria Info, the talk station of the nation.